It's January, and is it just me, or do you just feel like you have not stopped eating for like the last 4 or 5 weeks? It's been Christmas, and I just feel like I've eaten so much rubbish, like good, but rubbish food for forever, and I'm tired of it. But also, it's January, and everyone's doing these like health kicks and everything else. So what I've just done is I've literally just emptied out my fridge, and I'm going to give it a good clean now, but I'm going to put together a plan because I want something quick and easy. I'm thinking 5 ingredients, maybe 6 at a push, something that's just going to be really quick, and I'm on a bit of a budget, a really good budget. I don't want to be spending too much, so I'm hoping to be able to get my meal plan done for this week for about £30, and that'll feed 4 of us. I want it to be healthy because I need to get some more fruit and veg in there. I want it to be interesting and not boring, but it needs to be quick just because we're going back to work, children are back to school. Yeah, so we're going to do that. I'm going to give my fridge a quick clean, and then I'm going to plan, and I'm going to let you plan with me, and then we'll see what we can do. I'm going to open a couple of recipe books, crack out some of my favourites, and see where we go. Okay, so my number 1 tip before you ever even step foot into a supermarket is check out what is in your fridge before you even start. Now mine, looking pretty sorry. It's after Christmas, 2nd of January I'm filming this. I've cleared mine out. Like, there's very, very little. Quite clearly, I need to do a shop and a good clean of this fridge. I have pulled it all out. I'm going to give it a good clean now, and then I'm going to start to put together my food plan. Okay, top tip number 2. Once you've gone through your fridge, go through your cupboard, go through your freezer, see what else is in there that you can use. I'm doing a brand new setup, so I'm going to be doing this shop as if I've got nothing other than what's in my stock, like spices and herbs and oils and things like that, and I literally have nothing in my fridge. If I have got something in my freezer, I might well use it, but because I want you to be able to do this and be able to access it as if it's brand new and fresh to you, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do it in real time and buy those things so you get the right cost and you can do it along with me. I know what I like to eat, so of course these can be tweaked for you if you want to make them, add extra ingredients so they are less spicy or whatever it is I choose to do. I haven't even decided. I'm going to quick look through those recipe books, but of course you'll know what you're familiar with and what your family enjoy and what works for you, and that is the other thing as well. So when you know your food and your ingredients, you'll know how your week looks. So once you know what your family likes and what your plan is, the next tip would be to think about your week ahead. You'll know when you've got those really busy days because you've got to take children to this club or that club, or you've got to be in a certain place, or you know you're working late, or you've got a certain shift, whatever. You've all got those things going on in your life, and that's how we sort of use this plan as well. Quite often, if I'm doing one of these shops, I might double up the ingredients, so I've got 2 weeks worth of food ready to go, throw one in the freezer, and that again is another sort of time-saving tip that you can work with. So as I plan mine, don't think I've got to do this on a Monday and I've got to do this on a Friday, whatever. Do what works for you, move the food around. I tend to also plan where I'm using several ingredients all at once, so I might be able to cook 2 meals at once, or if I've had pasta on one night, I might not necessarily want pasta the next night or something like that. So I've got to bear those things in mind when I'm doing mine. So like I say, tweaks, changes, add things, take things away. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible with as few ingredients as possible, and then also to keep that cost down, I'm going to try and reuse those ingredients in more than one recipe. So for example, if I'm going to get some mushrooms, because mushrooms might be on a good offer this week, I'll try and use those several times throughout the week, like with the stroganoff or a chicken and mushroom fricassee, something like that. So you're trying to make the most ingredients, reducing waste and reducing cost as well, keeping it easy and simple, and that way you're more inclined to stick to it and less inclined to hit that just eat button, or just grab the chips on the way home from work. I know, we've all been there, we do it. Right, let's have a look at the plan then, see what I need to buy, and then I'm going to go shopping and we'll buy it, obviously, and see what we can come up with. I've gone through my fridge and freezer and had a look in my store cupboard. So I know what I've got, I know what I need to buy, and I've gone through those recipe books. I've looked for recipes that share very similar ingredients, but I still want to keep it interesting and I still want to keep it exciting but simple. So I'm gonna grab my pen I'm going to jot down everything on my grocery list that I know I need to buy. And I'm going to put here the things that I've already got in my freezer. So like, for example, I've got meats and things that I know of, because then I'll know I don't need to buy them. But if you wanted to follow something similar, then, you know, if you didn't already have these items in, you need to add them onto your shopping list. So let's zoom you in and we'll have a look at what I'm getting. Everything I want to get. I've realised as I was writing it, I popped down bread and eggs because I was doing my own shopping list as well. These aren't actually needed for any of the recipes that I'm going to show you today. I will be doing the shopping for this, but also I've got other things I need to buy ready for the school week as well. And in fact, cream cheese is on that, so don't worry too much about buying those 3 items. A disclaimer. And I put a question mark on the shallots one because last time I went in looking for shallots, like last week for something, they didn't have any. It's not vital I get them, and also it depends on the price. I haven't bought shallots for a long time. They can be quite pricey. And then I need quite a lot of these mushrooms actually, because I've got them in about 3 different things. So I'll look for the best deal. And again, similar for this one, chipolatas, I need about 12, or chicken sausages. I'm just going to see what's on the best offer when I go. Now, it looks like there's not a lot there, but I know I've just realised I've not got, hang on, let me add that on. Cream. I think I was writing and then went for cream cheese. Double. We could get sour cream for one of the recipes I've got, but I'm going to use the double cream just so I'm not having it to use up something else. I would love to get some pine nuts, but last time I looked at those, they were a small fortune, and I will put them on here. I don't think I'm going to get them. It's just going to take me well over my budget. Unless it's got, for whatever reason, they've got a good deal on it, but I very much doubt it. So I've got those to get, and I'm going to put them now into a menu. So as I said, you know, it doesn't really matter where they go, or on what days you can move them around. I'm just going to jot them down over the nights because I know what I can make when, and like I might double up making one meal, or you know, just slightly adapt one so it's ready for the next day. So I've got mushroom stroganoff here. And that was the one that I said you could possibly use sour cream for, but I'm just going to use that double cream just to save, you know, ingredients and cost. Then we've got chicken and mushroom tarragon. Now, the very similar ingredients using the mushrooms, and this is, you know, this just works with a lot of the herbs and spices, and that's like a bit of a hint, really, a bit of a tip. By just changing up your herb, and tarragon's a really powerful herb, then you are getting a whole new meal effectively. It's just, but it's not, do you know what I mean? It's still really good. Then let's do some Italian stallion sausages, and again, like I said, it depends on those sausages which ones I get. I know I've already got in some things like tin tomatoes, so like, well, you would need these but I've already got them in. And I'm going to go shopping in a minute with you anyway, and then I'll go through all the things I've got, and I'll go through the ingredients for everything that I need and the prices of those for you as well. So we've got chicken fried rice, and all these recipes, I mean, I know I've got double cream in them, but because you're making them yourself and, you know, it's thinned out and everything else, they're much healthier than, you know, if you would go into a shop or into a restaurant or a takeaway for that, for example. We've got and again, that's using stuff that I've mostly got, and it's just the pasta I haven't got. So I've got meatballs already in my freezer. You can buy those, you can make them yourself. If you haven't got time, then, you know, there's loads of great ones out there. Quite often find those in the reduced section, by the way. That's usually where my stock supply comes from. And then the pasta with like a tin tomato sauce, and again, it's just some herbs that I've already got in. And then we've got cheesy, spelled treats with a H there, chorizo, chicken and spinach. And spinach I've got quite a lot of throughout, you know, mostly to bulk these up, but spinach is really good for you. If you don't like it, leave it out or switch it up for something else that you do like, you know, change it to a different vegetable. And you can serve it with whatever side you want, whatever you've got, whatever works for you. And a lot of these are quite bulky, so it won't necessarily need something extra to go with it. You could do some salad, or you could do some steamed veg, whatever works for you. So I'm just doing the main course, if you like. And then Sunday, I'm just going to have leftovers, and I will have lots of leftovers, just to keep it easy for myself, so I don't have to keep thinking of something new. Especially something like this chicken fried rice. If you bulk up the rice, you know, you can make it last and definitely get you through a couple of meals. And the pasta on a similar thing, you know, and some of these are great for freezing ahead. And I will let you know as I go through everything later on in this video. Right, let's go shopping. So these are the things I picked up. I got tagliatelle, which I was quite pleased with. It was about 95 pence. And when I looked at the rest of the pastas, they were basically the same price. Now, previously, tagliatelle has always been more expensive. All the other pastas seem to have gone up, so not too bad. I got 30 treats or slices in the end. I initially looked at one packet for 15. It was like £1, but for an extra few pence, I could get twice as much. And even if I don't use it all in this shopping video, I'll definitely be using them again on pizzas and things like that. Mozzarella, I have some cherry tomatoes and some that I already had some left over. I've defrosted my own chicken breast. I hadn't put garlic down on my menu, but I spotted it at the back of my fridge, so I thought, I'm sure I can use that somewhere. Mushrooms and some double cream. Made up with the spinach. I got a massive bag, reduced at 44 pence. It should have been £1.77. Normally I would have had to buy 2 smaller bags, but that'll be loads. I've actually ended up buying the chicken sausages and the pork chipolatas because they were both on an offer. I picked them both up. Obviously, you know, it's not going to be the cost of both of those things because it's just whatever suits you, and I'll throw one in the fridge just because, or in the freezer, because they were on an offer. Tarragon, ground ginger I already had in rather than fresh ginger, a couple of red onions, some of the basmati rice. I've already used these already, some of the shallots. Yes, they're a lot more expensive, but because I'd like to save some money on the spinach and other things, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to go all out and get those. And I got a bag of mixed peppers, and it was cheaper, really, for me to get this bag of 5 rather than just 2 or 3 of the red ones. So more cost effective for me in the long run. Right, let's see how we're going to make these. First recipes I'm going to make basically use a lot of the same ingredients. So we're going to make the mushroom stroganoff and the chicken and tarragon with mushrooms. So let's start with our mushroom stroganoff. So I've finely sliced my shallot, and then with my mushrooms, what I tend to do, separate my stalks from the mushroom themselves, and then just chop up those stalks because they're really nice and woody and there's loads of flavour in there. And then I try and mix up the cutting of my mushroom quarters in there, and then mushroom slices as well. It just gives the dish a little bit more texture, makes it a little bit more interesting, and you can use any type of mushrooms that you like. And I'm going to throw those in the frying pan and mix them and cook them for about 3 minutes, just until they start to get a bit of colour on them. Once you're happy with the colour, at this point you can either add in some protein, so maybe some tofu or some beef or chicken or whatever you would like to go into your stroganoff. I'm just going to leave mine with the mushrooms and shallot. Then add in some pepper and some salt to season. If you want to, you could go ahead and maybe put in some paprika as well. I'm going to actually add a dash in just because I've spotted some in the cupboard. It just adds a little bit more depth of colour. You don't need a great deal of it. And then give it another mix. If you have added the protein, then just make sure that's cooked through before you move on to the next step. At this point, I'm quite happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the beef stock. Now, because I'm going to freeze this particular meal, I've added a little bit more stock. I've got about 300 mils there. And that should start to heat up quite quickly, and give it a little bit of a stir so it takes in. I'm going by eye, but it's going to be about 125 mils of the cream in there. Give that a really good stir. Once you're happy with it, you can turn the heat right down. In fact, turn it off and then let it cool before you freeze it, or you can serve it just like this with a wedge of lemon, sprinkle of fresh parsley, some rice, or however else you would like yours served. Mine's going to go in the freezer. So for this recipe, I've got 2 chicken breasts, and I've sliced mine because I'm going to poach them. And the reason I'm poaching them to cook them through is that, and trust me on this, it cooks them through beautifully, but it also retains such a lovely level of moisture, and it's really, really soft and juicy, and it's really healthy. So I'm just going to pop these into the saucepan, and this should probably take about 5 to 10 minutes just to cook through. You can add a little bit of salt to the water if you like. You don't have to, it depends on your flavour preference. If you've not sliced your chicken breast, they probably will take a little bit longer, maybe about 12 minutes. But I'm quite happy with mine, just sliced up like so. And whilst that is cooking, I'm going to get on with prepping the other parts of the meal. Your chopped garlic, mushrooms, and give it a good stir for about 2 minutes until you're happy. Got a nice little bit of colour on it. At this point, you can add in a splash of white wine if you like. You really don't have to. I've just added in a little bit of hot water just to loosen it up a little bit, because I'm about to pop in the spinach. Grab yourself a handful of that, and promise you there's never going to be too much spinach in this. Once you're happy this is all quite wilted, then I'm just going to go ahead and add in about 150 mils of double cream. Give that a good stir. In an ideal world, we would add in fresh tarragon, but I've only got dried tarragon, costs and all that. Going to give a good sprinkle of that in there, and give it a good mix before we take it off the heat and just let it cool. And we're going to go back and check on that chicken. You can of course add more or less of that tarragon depending on your preference, and straight away that smell of tarragon is giving you a delicious hit. It's fantastic. Yeah, I'm quite happy that this chicken is cooked through beautifully, but do check it with a knife, cut it, slice it through the thickest part just to check. I'm just going to spoon that over there, and it is absolutely delicious. So this one is a really versatile recipe because, as I already mentioned, you can choose any sausages that you like, and I've actually gone for the chicken ones in the end, but you could have vegetarian ones, vegan ones, you know, meat, any other really that you like. I did have these celery sticks which were reduced. I don't normally like celery unless it is cooked and you can't taste it. Making the most of these shallots. I've got a tablespoon of tomato puree, and I've got about 250 mils, 300 mils of stock. And then we've got these plum tomatoes I got, because normally the original recipe called for cherry tomatoes. These were cheaper. So let's get started. First job, we're going to preheat the grill and get these sausages done. About 5 minutes on each side should do it. Add diced shallots and celery. And at this point, you can play around with the flavours. If you want to add some fennel, or you want to add some thyme or garlic, then this is the point to do it. I've just spotted I've got some thyme in my cupboard. Put a little bit of that in. You're going to give this a good stir, and once you're happy it's just starting to soften, probably about 2 or 3 minutes, then you can go ahead and add in cherry tomatoes or plum tomatoes. And a 10 in mine. You can put as many as you like, and that tablespoon of tomato puree. Then we're going to go ahead and add in the stock. We're going to turn the heat up And we're just getting to this point where we can just see those little bubbles and blips coming up. We're going to grab the sausages out of the grill and we're going to slip them in. Cover them up with this really flavourful sauce, and you can serve this with a big bunch of kale, or if you like mash, or you can have just on its own if you like, whatever you want to serve yours with. But it's really, really healthy, it's really delicious and really full of flavour. I'm going to leave that on there for another couple of minutes, making sure those sausages have got every ounce of that flavour, and then I'm going to serve it up. Next, we're going to go ahead and make meatballs and pasta. These have been in my freezer. I got them as a reduced item. We've got the tagliatelle, 1 red onion. Doesn't have to be this big. I'll probably only use about half of that. Some tinned tomatoes. I'm going to use up some more of that spinach that I got on that good offer. And just because I spotted it earlier, I've got this garlic and thyme that I'm going to throw in. You don't have to. You can just keep this really simple. Salt and pepper, whatever you like to include in yours. But let's go ahead and start prepping this. Okay, so we've got some finely sliced garlic and then some slices of that red onion. Some oil of your choice, whatever you prefer. And we're just going to stir this until it's nice and soft. At this point, if you're getting ready to serve your meal, then you would be putting your pasta on. I'm not. So I'm just going to pop this to one side because I'm going to cook mine and freeze it so it's ready for another day. When you have to these are nice and soft and cooked through, that garlic's got a little bit of colouring on it, it's nice and golden. We're going to go ahead and pour in our tinned tomatoes, and then we're going to turn this heat up until this starts to bubble. Okay, at this point you can add in your seasoning, salt and pepper. If you wanted to add in a little bit of sugar to make this quite sweet, you could do. I'm trying to keep it healthy, so I'm not going to, but it does add a little bit of something to those onions if you do that. And right now we're going to throw in our meatballs. So these ones are beef meatballs, but of course you can do homemade ones. You can do turkey, you can do, chicken, whatever you want to use for you, or you can do vegetarian, of course. I'm going to cover it and let these cook through and steam for about 10 minutes. If you want to just make sure that your meatballs are definitely cooked through, you can just give them a little slice in the middle, make sure there's nothing pink if you've got meat ones. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab as much spinach as I like, just straight out the bag. And again, it always looks like you've got loads of spinach, but actually it wilts down really, really quickly to nothing, and it just gives a little bit more of a vitamin boost to whatever it is you're cooking. Give it a good stir for about 30 seconds. And there we have it, one lovely, delicious meal of meatballs and onions, spinach, tomatoes. I'm going to freeze mine and let it cool and then pop it in the freezer. You can just serve yours straight away with that pasta. So for this one, we're going to be making cheesy chicken and chorizo. And again, there are things that you can do to tweak this one. As I said before, this would be really nice with some cashew nuts or some pine nuts. They're just out of my budget at the moment, but let's gonna go ahead. I'm not going to use all the chorizo. I'm not using all the chicken. It's just, this is where it is, and I'll start prepping everything. I'm just going to throw in the chorizo. I've got about 75 grams here, and I'm just going to let that cook for about a minute. I'm just going to pop that to one side and throw in, I've got finely diced half a red onion. And push that to one side, make a bit of a well. So these are about 1 centimetre wide, or thick rather. I'm just going to cook this through for about 3 minutes until it's cooked through. I've just added in some halves of cherry tomatoes. I'm just going to cook these for about another minute until they're about just soft enough. And get it all in there, fill this up. Now that's pretty much cooked through. I've just turned the heat right off, and I'm just going to blob in pieces of the mozzarella here and there, just so it can start to melt. And at this point, like I said, if you wanted to drizzle some toasted nuts over it, this would be the time to do it. Basically, I'm just going to spoon some of this onto a plate because this is going to be amazing. Look at that, that looks fantastic, and it doesn't need anything else. I can't wait to get stuck into this. That's good. So our final recipe is a easy chicken stir fry, and I love this because you can literally take any vegetables that you need using up and throw them in, whatever you like. So I've got some chicken breasts sliced about 1.5 centimeters. Again, you can make it whatever you want in there. You can have prawns, tofu, mushrooms, whatever. I've got a pepper, I've got this baby corn, which was a reduction, which I'm going to use up, sugar snaps, half a red onion. Now normally this is the point where I also have some pre-cooked rice and some soy sauce. However, since I left them out, my daughter's taken to making herself a little snack with the soy sauce and rice. So you get the gist. Slice them up and fry them off with whatever you like in there, and then add in the soy sauce and rice, and you've got the quickest, easiest, most delicious stir fry. Thank you so much for watching, and have an amazing day. See you soon. Bye.